Good evening, class. My name is Michael Agnew. Tonight we're just going to do a quick, short conversation on organizational performance management. But really, before we get into that, I'll throw the question out there. Does anyone know what I would consider a dead degree? Correct. I'm one of the last students in the Regis University's organizational performance management degree. Once I graduate this spring, there will only be a small handful of students left with the school that is looking to get this specialty MBA. There were 4 core classes I really enjoyed with this degree plan and that I'd like to really touch upon real quick. Can anyone tell me, or anyone's in this plan that might know what these 4 are? The Leadership Management Challenge. That was the very first one. That was just a basic class that really covered how we as leaders needed to use performance management process as a skill, learn how to use it as a skill when managing our teams and our subordinates. Next class, which I really enjoyed, was the Coaching for Change. Awesome class that really taught us how to not only be a champion for change within your organization or future organizations, but also to how is it that you work with your team to really get them to have the buy-in to that change. The next class that really touched on these cores for this organizational performance management was effective decision making and performance management. Not only do you have to know how to change, but you also have to approach those decisions when dealing with performance management, whether good or bad. And then the last one was the organizational performance measurement system. You can have all this performance management, all these skills, but if you don't know how to really measure and see if a person is working towards those goals, has achieved those goals, or just is not a good fit anymore, you need to be able to have those hard facts. So, what is the organizational performance management? Really, this would be what I would call the holy grail of the performance management. It's Performance Management, Changing Behavior That Drives Organizational Effectiveness by Audrey Daniels and John Bailey. All 4 of my core classes dealt with that book. Inside, they really go into great detail about what is performance management, especially at the organizational level. So really, I'd like to hear from you exactly how you feel or what you think performance management is. Yes, the biggest piece of performance management is bringing out the best in people. You don't want just to have somebody that is sitting at work at their desk doing their job day in and day out and collecting a paycheck. Really, you need to learn who they are, you need to measure who they are, and you need to have goals and standards so that you can measure them against that and know if they are performing and if you need to move into a performance management process if they are not performing, or if they're really excelling, you can move forward. But really, performance management is about the behavior. How is that person at work? Are they disgruntled? Are they a great attitude? Do they strive to be better? Inside, there were a number of steps that they considered that needs to be taken to really understand and make sure that performance management works well. Can anyone give me the very first one? What is the one thing that you need to check to make sure that someone is doing, or if they're even doing what they're supposed to be doing? Exactly, pinpointing is the biggest piece. It's the process of being specific about the behavior that the person is doing. Not feelings, not I think. You need to be able to sit there and say, yes, they are at their desk typing a report. Yes, they walked through the door. Yes, they opened the door. They were rude. They were very pleasant. The physical behavior that you can see about the person. So once you've been able to pinpoint, what is it the next thing that needs to be done? That's identifying the mission. Really, if you want to know if that pinpointing behavior is correct, you need to be able to look at what is the mission that you want them to do. And then from there, you move on. Once you've identified it, you've got to measure it. You've got to be able to sit there and say, yes, no, yes, no. A point system, very specific answers, a numbering system works out well. Try to keep your feelings out of it. There's just no reason to sit there and be disgruntled or having a personal opinion about whether they did it or not. You've collected all this data. What's next? Exactly. You need to graph the data. You need to put it in some visual form so that you can sit down with the person and sit there and say, here's the trends. Here's what I have seen. Here's what your coworker has seen. Here is what another manager has seen. And be able to sit there, it's like, on these days you did really well. What happened here? And you can start finding out exactly what is going on with the behavior. Why is there a change in behavior? Can anyone out tell me, when it comes to behavior models, what is one that tends to be used the most? The ABC model, the antecedent, behavior, and consequence model. For any antecedent results in a behavior. Every behavior has a consequence, and that consequence can actually come back around and be an antecedent for the next behavior. That is it's not a, it's just a behavior model, and once you can follow those three pieces, you can pretty much identify who the person is. One item that we went into during this degree plan was what we call a picnic. Positive immediate consequence, negative immediate consequence. It's a formal but not a scientific way at looking at behavior from the performance perspective. We always used speeding. Why did you speed? Well, it's positive because I got the adrenaline rush. It was immediate because I was doing it right then and there. And it was certain. It was certain I was speeding because I know what the speed limit is, and my speedometer says something else. The negative side is I got a ticket. I got pulled over. That's a negative consequence. It was immediate because he pulled me over, and it was certain because I was speeding. Who knows? But if you can start identifying those behaviors around one topic, you can really start identifying your antecedents, your behaviors, and your consequences. One topic, one term that I had a hard time with, and I know many of you have had questions about, is what's an antecedent? Really, an antecedent is a presiding event, condition, or cause. And really it comes down to is what you as a person see, taste, feel, smell. Those are antecedents. They're things that are going on around you, and then it makes you do something. You smell the roses, and you're like, oh, those are sweet-smelling roses. You smell something that's very pungent, and you're like, ooh, I need to throw that away. That's what the antecedent leads into that behavior. Consequences. There's always consequences to everything. What are the two sides of consequences that we always deal with? Positive and negative. A lot of negative because a lot of people just don't understand what it means to be a positive reinforcer. So those are when we talk about consequences, the positive and the negatives. If you give a negative reinforcer, then they're going to keep doing that behavior. So you want to break them and use those positive reinforcers to really get things done. Then you got to do feedback. You have to tell a person what it means, how the behavior works. I really follow the model of the situation, the behavior, and the impact. What was your situation? How were you behaving to it? And this was the impact. Once you've decided all this, we talked about positive and negative reinforcers, but how do I know what your reinforcers are? I've got to get to know who you are. I have to know and talk to you. I can't just sit there and say yes or no to that you're doing your work. I need to know what makes you tick. We call those R pluses, positive reinforce. If you are a person who likes their time off, that may be a positive reinforcer for good work, is I give you some time off. If money is your motivator, then it would look at like annual bonuses, a completion of a sale, those kind of things that, as long as it's a positive. What is the one, when we talk about reinforcers as a manager, what is the one thing that really people have a hard time with? Correct. That is delivering reinforcers. It is interesting in my time how many people have a hard time sitting there saying, good job. That's a positive reinforcement. They sit there, but yet if you do something bad or you do something wrong, they're right there to sit there and say, you did that wrong. This is how you do it. And that's a negative reinforcer. You're not learning anything. You just learn that you did something wrong, and you're going to learn not to do that again. And then the last piece that you really want to do is what we call schedule those reinforcements. You just don't want to sit there and be inconsistent. Well, the last time my boss said I did a great job was 3 weeks ago. Am I still doing am I doing a good job? Am I not doing a good job? Plan for those. You don't have to plan to give someone a lot of time off all the time, because then that will start turning into more of a negative side, because they're always going to get it. But doing little things, good job. Hey, why don't you take next Friday off? Why don't you take an extra lunch, extra time on your lunch, those kind of things. But you want to schedule it. You don't want to just throw it all at one time, because then that behavior doesn't really get reinforced. It reinforced for a small bit, and then if it's never reinforced again, they're never going to do it again. That is organizational performance management. Very quick. It's what I've learned in my time. A lot of these pieces I have known for some time. It helped me put this out and actually put it down in the process and the path. So now I know exactly what it is that I need to do as a manager, and hopefully you move forward and you'll be able to do the same thing. Thank you for your time, and good night.